Okay, so our recorder is on. Welcome to the ETD workshop today. My name is Liz. I'm the formatting advisor with the graduate school. So I'll be working with everybody directly. Joining us today, we have Erin Strickland with the Writing Center, and then Layla Sturman with the MSU Library. First of all, let me say congratulations on your nearing or being at your semester. That's very exciting. We're just going to give you different information and resources that might help you along this last hurdle. So we have a presentation that we'll present. We'll also be having this workshop or something similar again on October 15th and November 18th, I believe. It's pretty much the same information, but if you have questions, you can always come and ask them then too while we're all together. So let me go ahead and pull up the presentation and we'll just sort of get started. And if you have questions, feel free to ask or put them in the chat, and we'll make sure to do questions at the end to get them all in. Okay, so let me share my screen here. All right. And we'll just, get started. I think, Erin, you're first up. Can you give us some more information about the Writing Center and how it can help with the ETD process?
Yes, I certainly can. So the Writing Center can be helpful at different stages of your writing. So I'm assuming at this point you're kind of nearing the end, which is amazing. But at that point, you may be looking for just a person to kind of give it a once over and make sure that it sounds all right, if it connects well. At that stage, you've looked at it for so long, it might be hard just to see what's going on with it. So we do have tutoring appointments available. It just looks a little bit different, obviously, this semester. Mostly we're doing online tutoring. So if you go to our website, you can make an appointment. We're going to have two schedules though. So if you're interested in the online appointment schedule, that's what's going to come up first. And you can we've got hour-long appointments then, where you will upload whatever portion of your draft that you're working on, and the tutor will kind of respond in a chat box and talk to you about what they see going on. And then we have a few limited face-to-face appointments here at the Writing Center, where you meet in our conference room and sit far apart and put your work up on the big TV screen that's in there. So if you do prefer face-to-face, there's a second schedule where you can do that as well. You may also be at a point where you're interested in getting sort of more sustained feedback. You can definitely do that with tutors. Sometimes you can develop a relationship with a tutor that's a really good working relationship, and you may meet with them again and again. Some people will make appointments once a week or something just to keep them accountable, to keep them working on their draft. So that's a nice way to establish yourself with the tutor, and then you don't have to be explaining what your project is every time, like if you find that one tutor that you work really well with. But another option would be to join a writing group. And what we're doing this semester is having them online, and they're asynchronous. So what happens is I will send out a message on Microsoft Teams on a Monday and say you have until Tuesday at noon to post a draft, and then you post whatever you would like people to look at. And then they have until Wednesday at 5 p.m. to read it and make comments. And then on Thursday, people go back into the Microsoft Teams and they look at the comments and they ask other questions or clarify. So hopefully we get a little bit of a conversation back and forth about the writing. But it's not something you have to log in at a specific time. It spans the whole week to work on it. And you can do that sort of continually, however long you would like to work on that. So that is an option, and I will put in the chat here in a moment how you can sign up for the groups. And I'll also put our website for how you can sign up for online tutoring if you're interested in that. And then the last thing is I'm doing a Focus Fridays every Friday. And the goal of that is to create a writing community. So what we do is have like a video chat real briefly up at 9 a.m. where you're just sort of checking in. You're saying, hey, I'm here. I'm going to write for 3 hours today and I want to get X, Y, and Z done. And that just makes your goal really public, because we know that when we make goals public, we're more likely to, follow through. And then at noon, I check in with you again and say, oh, how did it go? And we kind of talk about that. And whoever is there, you'll see each other in the boxes and, kind of meet. But it's nice to know that other people are writing too, and that you're not just writing in isolation. And if you do have questions or comments, or you would like somebody to look over what you're writing, I'm there to do that. And the other writers are there too. So it is a form of support. And that goes until 3 p.m. on Friday. I'm pretty much the only one there at 3 p.m. on Friday, though. I think most people are done by then. So if you're just looking for a little bit of like, hey, I want to make my Fridays more productive, that is an option as well. Liz, do you want to do questions just on that part now, and then we can move on to Layla's, or should we wait until the end?
No, we can have questions if anybody has questions on Writing Center services or anything.
Cool. Any questions or thoughts or anything I can clarify?
Hi, I'm Maxine. Hi, Erin.
Hi.
I would really like to do this 1 hour meeting and ongoing or sustained. If you could, are you available? Because you're in my field.
Yeah. I'm not actually available. We have the tutors. I'm not doing any tutoring this semester. So.
Okay. So then my only access to you would be on that Friday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I can work with you on Fridays.
Okay. All right. I'll try that then. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll put those links up, and my email is here on the screen. So if you have any other questions or want to contact me in the future, please do. And that could be in 2 months or whatever. 2 months you might be done, but maybe you're not feeling like you need anything right now. But when you do feel like you need something, we'll still be here.
Okay, thank you so much, Erin. That is wonderful to hear about all these services that the Writing Center provides. Next, we'll turn it over to Layla with the library, who talk a lot about, I think we have a couple slides, publishing, copyright, data, things like that. Take it away, Layla.
Great. So like Liz said, I'm Layla Sturman, and I am in the library. And I'll just say upfront that the library is a great resource. And even if you aren't on campus or don't want to come to campus, the library, my email's here. And if you have any questions, most of you probably have all your sources already for things like a lit review. The library is a great place for that kind of help, but we're also, if you have questions about publishing, about what to do with your data, how to preserve it, how to describe it, the library can be a really good resource for the end of your project as well. So where will your paper go after you hand it to Liz? It's formatted, which she'll talk about in a little bit, and then it goes through a process that can take. We're working on making this a faster process, but currently the process can take a couple weeks to a couple months to get it cataloged and sorted and put into finally ScholarWorks. ScholarWorks is the name for Montana's state's institutional repository. So we have theses, dissertations, published journal articles. It's a really great tool, Liz is showing us, to explore all the theses and dissertations that we have, going back to 1901. And so the inner ring on this is college, and then the middle ring is department, and then it it gets down to discipline in the outer ring. So if you just, or to a year, sorry. If you just want to see, drill right down to only education, or, you know, here we have a public administration, you can see those pretty clearly. And that can be a good way to dig in. So your paper will end up here. It will be publicly available, so anyone with internet access who searches for it and finds it can read it. We do have a 1-year embargo option, so if you are applying for a patent or writing a book or have a journal article coming out and prefer that it come out in the journal first and then in your dissertation second, we can embargo for up to a year. And that's on a form that you'll fill out right at the end that Liz will talk about again. Other than that, your paper will be publicly available, which is pretty exciting. It used to be that lots of papers were never read because they just collected dust on library shelves. And now these are really, they're well-used resources. So we think that that's a very exciting thing. So it'll show up on ScholarWorks and there'll be a permanent link to your paper that you can put on your CV and you know, your email, wherever you want to put it, and then anyone can access it. Supplementary material also goes in ScholarWorks generally, and then you have options with data depending on what it is to either put it in ScholarWorks or to put it in Dryad, which is a different repository that has a different structure and metadata. So for some more complex data, Dryad can be a really a great place. If you have questions about that, I won't go into it too deeply, but I am happy to talk about the differences and how things should be organized, or the possibilities for how things could be organized. So your paper is going to be out there online. What does that mean? Well, one of the things it means is that copyright is that you own it and it could get cited. So citation, you're probably very familiar with, but copyright tends to be a little murky. So you own copyright. If you're taking notes right now on what we're saying, or you know, you wrote a grocery, well, you doodled on your grocery list this morning, that doodle has copyright. Your paper already has copyright sitting in a draft folder on your computer. You don't need to register it. And you don't, you know, you'll write on the title page, you'll write all rights reserved, but that is largely a formality now, and you don't, even before you write copyright 2020, you already own copyright. So this gets a little tricky if you're doing a manuscript option, because many journals ask you to sign copyright over to them. That's part of many author agreements. So after your paper is accepted, they ask you to sign a contract that licenses the use, and many journals license, have you license almost everything to them. That just because you've signed copyright over to the journal, you still can publish the item in your thesis or dissertation. Some journals, almost all journals, you should just ask. Some of it's an easier process than others. I can help. And you just need to ask so that they're not surprised when their journal article shows up in your manuscript option. So I'm happy to answer more questions about that specifically. Just know that it's possible and you don't always need to embargo. So Yeah, that's so we have some guides and resources on copyright and things like that. So Commons is a type of license that means some rights reserved. Some journals license your work that way, and Creative Commons is also great if you're looking to reuse images or figures and you don't want to deal with asking for permission. You can search for Creative Commons license things, and that gives some specific permissions automatically. So I'm happy to chat more about that. That is interesting to you. There's a couple dissertations that are mostly from physics that are Creative Commons licensed. It doesn't make as big a difference in an academic publication like this where you own copyright. It's just a good thing to know about. You may be in citation land right now, trying to organize things and make everything look right. We have a guide for that. Citations can be really complicated. Our link may be broken, but if you search for citation guide on the library website, you should be able to find it. The most important part about citations is that someone can reasonably find what you're looking for. So even if you mess up in your citation list, if you mess up, I don't know, you misspell something, or you mistype a period or a comma, or you don't have italics exactly right, that's not ideal, but it's sort of forgivable as long as you can select the resource and it's very clear what the resource is. That's the main point. When you're in something like a list review, it is important that you cite things that need to be cited. Every couple years, someone like a university president loses their job because they plagiarized in their thesis or dissertation. And these people, they're 15 years past earning their degree, they're the top of the game, and then someone looks into their paper and finds either meaningfully or accidentally they have plagiarized large portions of their paper, and that ruins their academic career. So I imagine that none of you are actively trying to plagiarize, and still making sure your quotation marks, references are in the right spot can be really important to your future success. If we go back to the presentation, yeah. There's also more resources in this grad guide. Largely they're research based, which may be beyond where many of you are at this moment. Just, it's good to know that there's some tools there. If you're using a citation manager and you need help with it, the library can help troubleshoot problems or export issues. If you're not using a citation manager, you should think about it for your next big project. Even though the citations that come out of a citation manager are going to look pretty good, it's always a good idea to double check and just read through them. Make sure that there aren't data pieces missing or typos that you didn't see, when it was in EndNote or something like that. So it's a good idea to triple check and make sure that things. So you have the option if you're a master's student and it's still a requirement. No. Oh. Okay.
Just
I didn't know that.
semester.
So this is the first semester where it's totally an option to submit your paper, whether it's a master's thesis or a dissertation or a professional paper, to ProQuest. ProQuest is an online database of theses and dissertations. 40 years ago, before the internet was ubiquitous. ProQuest was a very good spot to find many dissertations or theses as you could and get them from other libraries. Now that the world is linked and most theses and dissertations are electronic, there are a number of ways to get the papers. So ScholarWorks that I mentioned before is an open access repository. Anyone can access it for free and read your paper. ProQuest is a subscription database, and so you submit to ProQuest and they make your paper available to libraries who pay subscriptions for it. You don't lose any copyright, you don't make any money, but your paper is available in another place. So it doesn't harm you in any way. And your paper is very available if you don't submit to ProQuest. So that's an option, and I'm happy to talk more about why you may or may not want to submit to ProQuest if you're interested. There are also some other sources that I'll pop into the chat of other free resources where you can post your paper and make sure it's available. I will just say that once you have your name and a paper out there on the internet, phishing scams will scrape your information and be interested in you. So you may get things that say like, Dr. Smith, we read your dissertation and we think it's fantastic. We'd love to publish a book. All you need to do, we'll do most of the work, and then you'll have a book and it'll be available on Amazon. And then what will happen is they will vaguely reformat almost nothing, make it look more like a book, put it up for sale. And so right before it's for sale, they'll say, oh, for our efforts, we just need you to pay us $350. And that's a pretty common scam. There's also lots of things that want to look like conferences, so you'll get emails, and you probably already do get some of these with a .edu address, but with published work out there, you get more that say, please present at our conference, or we read your paper and it's so good, please submit to our journal. Always be very cautious of all those unsolicited emails that try to flatter you into giving away intellectual property. If you ever have questions about them, you can forward them to me, and I'm happy to look at them and assess whether they're real or not. Most of them are too good to be true, but some of them are real. So I'm happy to answer questions about any of that before we move on to formatting. Or we can just move on to formatting.
Yeah, I'm sure questions will come up and pop into people's heads. So we'll move on to formatting for now. I'm the formatting advisor, so I'll help you through it. My website is the montana.edu/ETD website, and all of our information is found on this little website here. This homepage has an introduction video, which is kind of what I'm covering now, and an overview and my information. Our workshop dates come here. Our ETD deadlines are also posted here. They're also on the graduate school website. So there are 3 steps here. The first step is formatting, which is, I think, the most important, the most that you'll be working with. So I'll just give you a rundown of how to do your formatting, and hopefully it will help. I also have video tutorials that I've recorded, longer ones, shorter ones, things on specific tasks that will hopefully help you. I'm going to try and make this process as easy as possible because, it can get complicated and you're at the very end of the finish line, might not want to think about it. So I'm here to help. The first thing that is good in doing your formatting is to download a copy of our sample pages. So these sample pages list out an illustrated version of what these formatting guidelines are in these little yellow boxes in the text itself. So this will be everything I'm looking for. I'll look to see if you use the fullest form of your name. I'll look to see if the copyright has a page number. And it goes through the whole front matter, which includes table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, your abstract, then a bunch of information on the body, such as what long quotes look like, or what figures and tables captions should look like. And then the back matter, which is your references section. If you have references listed at the end of each chapter, that's great. You also need one big cumulative references cited section at the end too, that lists every reference that you used. And you can also have appendices. You don't have to, but if you need them, they're here, and it gives you information at the title pages for those. So download those, have a copy, print one off, read through it. They're very helpful for this whole process. So on this page as well, we also have templates for both Word and LaTeX. The LaTeX template is great. If you use that, it really cuts down on, a lot of the work. There might be one or two things I tell you to update, but otherwise the template provided by Professor Oakes is really great. Otherwise, most of my information is on Word because most students use Word. You can use whatever format or whatever word processing system that you want, but Word is usually the default. I have templates for master's degree, doctoral, and if you're a doctorate of nursing student and you're doing a scholarly project. The only difference is some wording on the first page. So let's run through that real quick. I'll show you some other resources I have. It's taking a second to open here. One note about our formatting requirements is that the old requirements pre-fall 2020 required a 1.5-inch left margin, which is now optional. You can, as long as all the margins are at least 1 inch, that's great. So if you have a 1-inch left margin or a 1.5-inch left margin, that's totally great. Some of my instructions might say 1.5-inch margin, but that's just outdated and I haven't updated it yet, just so you know that it's a small but big deep kind of detail. So when you download the template, a lot of it is just delete and type in your own information, type in your name here, your degree, and have a dedication and acknowledgement page, and it kind of shows you, or it tells you what we're looking for. Dedication is 1 page, single space precedes the acknowledgement page, stuff like that. An example table of contents here. You can do an automatic or a manual table of contents. Most students don't have the enough experience with Word to do the automatic one because that's pretty technically complicated, so they do the manual one. Either way, as long as it looks right in the end, I'm happy with it. I'll show you some tricks with the body of the ETD to get you started. So the sample pages in the template are slightly different just in the body, just to make it easier for you to get started. I'm going to show you the heading styles real fast, which I've programmed to match up with the templates or with the formatting requirements to save you time, hopefully. So as an example, if this were a first level heading, we could go to the home tab, and in the style section, it looks different on every version of Word, but you can highlight your heading, click the appropriate level style, and it will do the spacing above and below the heading for you, which I find is the most time-consuming task.
Can you show us how to tell that? How to, if we're creating it in a paper we already have, how to
Yes.
do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me show you that too. So this one's just a second level heading. We just click it and it puts the correct amount of spacing above and below it. Oops. It's on where you have to click the normal style too, just to get regular paragraphs. So let's just copy and paste something in here. So so if you were to copy and paste it, you can see it doesn't look quite right. You want to try and find the paste option that most matches what you need to do. So I'm going to use match destination formatting. These are bold, so I don't want them to be bold. I'm going to unbold them and say this is a first level heading. You just go in and you click the first level heading and it makes it the correct spacing, it underlines it. Let's do it here. Say this is a second level heading. I'm going to unbold, click second level, indent this paragraph. So there's pros and cons to writing in your own document and switching it over or just starting in the template itself. You can do either one, and whichever you find easier. Let's see. So that's just a quick run through of how to use the template. I'll show you some more resources on our website here. I also have video tutorials, and I've tried to make these as helpful as possible. I have a long one that tells you pretty much what we're talking about, but in more detail. A short one that just reviews these style headings like I just went through. One on the double space versus triple space dilemma. This is the biggest hang up with the formatting is the heading spacing. You need triple spaces in certain areas, and this is hard to format when you're just getting started. So this is my attempt to explain it for you. There's also kind of a page with how the heading levels should look and the spacing. Let's see, what else do we have? I also made a video on how to sign your certificate of approval form. So everybody will need to submit a certificate of approval, just saying you and your committee accept this paper. It's good to go. And it also tells us what publishing agreement you want, if you want us to publish it immediately or wait 1 year, as Layla was saying. So that's just a quick run through on how to sign your document in DocuSign and get it over to us. This is really helpful when everything switched to digital real fast. I also have some information on landscape pages, which is also it can get a little complicated. I have a formatting FAQ that kind of gives instruction for the most complicated things or the most mistakes that I see, like how do you format a block quote or landscape pages or the page numbers. So if you're having trouble with something, go to the formatting FAQ, see if it's there. If not, let me know, ask me, and I'll help you to the best of my ability. We also have, let's see, some information on how to make your thesis dissertation more accessible. And accessibility means it can be read by a screen reader. So somebody who is vision impaired can use a screen reader and it'll read the document to them. I've formatted the styles specifically to help with accessibility because it kind of breaks down the levels of your dissertation and creates little bookmarks throughout your paper. And it gives you a few other things that you can do to increase the accessibility of your paper, such as adding alt text to your images, editing the document properties, things like that. So I say give that a look and do the accessibility task to help make your paper more accessible when you turn it in. And I get a lot of questions on our manuscript option. So what I showed you was just our standard formatting option. Also have a manuscript formatting option, which basically means if you're doing if one of your chapters is going to be submitted for publication, has been submitted, or is already published in a journal, you can use this option for a different formatting style, and also to let your readers know that this chapter is going to be published or will be published or has been published. So for the chapter with the manuscript in it, you can just use the regular graduate school formatting. You can use the formatting style required by the publisher, or PDFs of the published article, as long as the margins and the page numbers match up with the rest of the document. The option is up to you. Along with the different formatting style for each chapter that is a manuscript, we also ask that you do 2 pages, a contribution of author and co-authors page, and a manuscript information page at the beginning of the chapter. Take a look at that real fast. And it just gives us more information about who helped out with this paper, where you're sending it, when you sent it, things like that. They also show up in the table of and Liz had spoken about that a little bit before, about if you have something published already, plan to publish. Let's see. We'll look through my list to make sure we're covering everything. Oh, so you'll send me drafts of your dissertation before the deadline. Usually the defense deadline and the ETD deadline have been on the same day. We are trying to split those dates up. So the defense deadline, if you plan to graduate in fall 2020, I think is November 4th. And then the ETD deadline to get your paper into me to accept is December 2nd. It's the final, you turn it in, you're all done date. I do ask that you send me drafts before then. Please don't send me your first draft for the first time on deadline day, mostly so you'll have time to make any corrections that are needed. But also I get pretty busy on deadline day, so I might not have time to, do a lot of detailed formatting updates for you, and you might miss the deadline. So I say at least a week before the deadline. You can send it to me now, whenever. You can send partial drafts. It doesn't have to be defended. It doesn't have to be finished. You can send chapters. I'm happy to look at whatever you need to. And just to know, if you don't graduate this semester, or if you're watching this in the future, we're looking to get a submission portal where you upload drafts to kind of a portal instead of through email. So that might change in the future, but for now we are just doing it through email as well. Yeah, I think I've covered everything. You'll also send me any supplementary files that you have. They go to me, and then I'll send them to the library as well. Okay, that's a lot of formatting information at once. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer.
Thanks, Liz. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yes,
cool. So I have 2 questions. So the first will be, of the 4 chapters I'm writing, 2 of them have already been published or accepted. And then I have another one that's planning to be as well. So all 3 of the chapters are essentially being written to be manuscripts. So is that manuscript the option that I should be using then, instead of just using the traditional format?
Yeah, so the standard traditional one, it'll just be kind of the framework. You'll follow the front matter, like the title page and copyright page and all of that. And then for the specific chapters, you can use the manuscript option. So, the formatting can be the same or different. And you'll include those 2 pages at the beginning of the chapter. And at the end of the dissertation, the back matter, you'll have the references page, like in the template and the appendix pages, if you have an appendix to the whole dissertation. So it's kind of a mix of both. The option kind of dictates how you put your chapter, and then you put that chapter in the larger framework of the template.
Okay, that's helpful. So then my other question is when it comes to like tables and figures, are there specific requirements, formatting requirements for those?
In our standard formatting option, I'll just show you real fast. I had the sample pages up here. Our main requirements is that they fit within the margins. If they extend in the margins, I'm going to tell you to fix that. You can fix that by just squeezing it in, or you can create a landscape page to give yourself more room. For the standard formatting option for the figures, the text is the same as the body, single spaced, and there's a triple space between the body of the text and the caption. For the manuscript option, it's whatever, you can use the style that the publishers want. So there can be some variety in there, but the sample pages kind of show you what we expect for just like the standard tables and figures.
Perfect, thanks. Sorry, I just overlooked that when you were talking about it before, so thank you.
No worries, there's a lot of details to think about.
Hello, I had a question regarding the references and citations if you're in the manuscript option. So if you have like a manuscript and the PDF of that with its associated references, how is the overall numbering then supposed to work? Like if you have multiple manuscripts with their own reference numbering and then you have an overall reference numbering, I was just confused on how to format that correctly.
Sure. And each discipline has their own formatting style. Some are numbered, some are alphabetized. And I'll just leave it up to you and whatever discipline you're using and whatever formatting style works best. If they're numbered, you can either make them all alphabetical, or you can split your references section into like chapters. So for your cumulative one, you could have like references for chapter 1 and then that list and then chapter 2. It just depends on what would make the most sense for you, the reader.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to avoid like if you had, two number ones,
Yeah.
based on one manuscript and then a different manuscript, how that works in the end. But so if you could just split it up, that's how you would do it.
Yeah, that works the best for your discipline. You can take a look at some of the other papers that maybe your colleagues have published and see how they did it. If they split their references section up by chapters, or if they just intermingle them alphabetically. Each citation style differs on that. So
I'm having a problem with Word where I'll insert a figure and have my text around it, and then for some reason there are these huge gaps in my text.
okay, you can certainly send me the document, and I can kind of see what's going on. Let me see if I can just insert something real fast. I don't know how many pictures I have on here. I have like 4 pictures on here. A lot of what creates the spacing for images is the wrap text. So you can see maybe there's something going on there with the wrap text. You could also just play around with the settings. But you can also send it to me and I can take a look. Maybe something on your size and position is.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all, very specific to what you're doing at the time.
Okay, thank you.
A lot of settings can be fixed through the format or the paragraph or line spacing options. I usually don't use Mac, so this looks a little different, but the before and after spacing is very important, and that it gets touched upon in the tutorial videos that I put out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Looks like there are line spacing options for pictures too, so you could see if there's something there. Sorry, that wasn't more specific.
Oh no, you're fine.
Any more questions on formatting or even anything Layla was talking about on copyright or publishing?
I have a question about, I did use connect my table of contents to the paper. But in the way I used it, it didn't format the labels the way that it's required. Who might I go to for help in figuring out the formatting of it? I mean, I understand what the formatting needs to be. I just don't know how to get the computer to do that.
Yeah, that's the tricky part about doing the automatic table of contents, is that you have to, it'll give you the page numbers and the labels, but you have to go in specifically to each line. Let me see what information I have on automatic table of contents. In my FAQ is here. So you can read through that. I'm not sure how much.
Oh, okay.
Change the settings here, or just go into each line, highlight it, right click, and make the settings as they need to be. This is usually the hang up on why most people do it manually. I'm willing to give you a hand. Another thing, if you just can't do the formatting on your own or you just don't want to, we also have people you can hire, typist editors. So if you just don't want to do it or you're struggling, reach out to one of these typist editors, and there's information on questions you can ask, and they'll help you out with doing that kind of thing too.
Okay. Thank you.
Looks like Lila has a great source for that too.
Yeah, Jacqueline Frank is a librarian, and I popped her email into the chat, Maxine, and she's a really great resource for helping out with Word, with that sort of fussy word formatting.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I will add that. Thank you.
So any other questions on anything? Okay, looks like we talked about a lot today, so thank you for joining us. If you have any questions after this, you can reach out to any one of us that have presented today, and we'll be glad to take your hand. Yeah, you can come to a future workshop. Otherwise, I look forward to receiving your emails at gradformatting@montana.edu to see your thesis and dissertation drafts, and to get your questions. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up now unless anybody has any last minute. All right, thank you guys for attending. Yeah, I look forward to working with all of you. I hope you have a good lunch and rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.